My name's Helen. I was caring for my husband. My husband's actually deceased now. I was a carer long before I knew I was a carer. I'd been caring for my husband for a couple of years, and then his health deteriorated and he had to go into hospital. I first heard about the Carers of West Dunbartonshire when my husband was being discharged from hospital. A sister in the ward suggested it to me. Would I mind putting my name forward for help from them? And that was actually the first time I'd ever heard anything about them. Up till then I didn't know anything about the carers at all. And it was when he was coming out of hospital, the ward sister asked me to go and have a chat with her. And I did that, and she asked me how I was going to manage when I got home. So I said, well, I had a son and a daughter and blah, blah. And she said, no, I don't mean that, Mrs. Hamilton. You actually have to be physically helping Mr. Hamilton out of bed and, toilets and etc. And I said, no, I don't have anybody for that. So she asked me if, would I mind if she contacted the carers. Seemingly there's a person in hospital that they can contact. And I said yes, that would be fine. And obviously they contacted social services, because the next morning we get home, I get my husband upstairs and we get settled in. And the next morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, there was a knock at the door, and it was an assistant from social services to help Archie to get up and have his shower, etc. Later on that day, I got a phone call from the carers service. Now, I didn't really know anything about the carers service. I had seen the sign that said Carers Centre, but actually I thought that was a place where people who were professional carers went out. I didn't appreciate that it was someone in my position that was getting help. So that was really my introduction to the carers. They phoned me and I made an arrangement to come up and see them. So and it was, I got a support worker, and from then on in, since Archie was more unwell now than he had been before, I discovered my days were much longer. Basically you're constantly on call. Upstairs, the bedroom's upstairs. The bathroom, fortunately, is upstairs as well, so that was a big help. And it was more or less nursing care, and then of course feeding. Other than that, it was a case of, well, you're so restricted, you're sort of kind of tied in a way, unless you get someone that can come. And unfortunately we'd moved house just before this happened, so we didn't really know a lot of people in the area. And then of course family and friends, well, the family always came, but the friends kind of stepped back a wee bit because Archie wasn't well and they didn't want to stress him, blah blah. So we get cut off a bit from other people. Then of course I had to take on the responsibilities of just the usual running of the whole house, and if anything went wrong, trying to get somebody to come and fix it, that kind of thing. It made a big difference in the whole situation. I unfortunately wasn't in perfect health myself, so I discovered that my illness, etc., was put to one side because I was caring for Archie. I said we didn't need financial help, we didn't, but it still was a case of where I had to start doing all, like, making sure that the money was in the bank and that everything was being paid, and it was mentally quite challenging in lots of ways. Emotionally it was just, well, you were going from one day to the other. You had lots of nights when it was really pretty crappy, but you struggle your way through it. But then once I was with the carers and I had the visiting, that helped me much more. Then they phoned up and they asked if, what kind of situation was and how they had become involved, and did I want them to come out to the house, or could I come here? So we made an arrangement that I came here. It was one of my daughter's days off, so she came to the house to be with her dad, and I came up to the office. I know that the girls could have come to the house. I didn't know at the time because I hadn't actually met them, but I felt I would rather be out of the house when I was talking to them. I felt I could express myself a bit better. So I come up to the office along the road, and it was great from then on in. I felt immediately it was, well, they were just, they really were. They gave you, they made you feel that although they knew and they were concerned about Archie's health and if I had all the help I needed for him, it was then on to me, how was I keeping? Because, as they pointed out to me, if it hadn't been, if I didn't look after myself and stay well, Archie wouldn't be in that position that he was in. He needed the help, so. But I got that I could maybe arrange for my son or my daughter, or actually one of my old neighbours would come down and I could get to the outings. We did daily outings, a weekly or monthly. Each group, I think, had one once a month. And so it meant I was like maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I was actually going on a trip from the office, and you met the other carers there, and we kind of all became ourselves. We weren't in the caring role, we were in a supporting each other. Carer centre supporting us and we're supporting one another, and it was really, really good. And when we came to the monthly meetings, you could open up if you wanted to. I felt at first, when I came at first, I started coming to the long-term conditions group, because it was long-term with Archie basically. But I found that I really couldn't say too much because it still sounds difficult even saying it, but it was an alcohol problem, and you always felt that if people have alcohol or drug problems, other people don't, it's as if you have cancer, it's nothing you could do about it. But if you're an alcoholic or got drug problems, it's your responsibility, you did it to yourself. So most people they don't have the same sort of sympathies. But that sort of thing wasn't discussed widely. And anyway, when you're at these meetings, it tells you on it, everything that said in the meeting stays there. And so I found it quite difficult to opening up. And then another group started up, it was called the Search Group, and that was for people that had alcohol and drug problems. So I could really open up more at that one. So I think everything that they've done for me has been absolutely, emotionally, been absolutely terrific, right behind you. I am now a volunteer with the Carers of West Dunbartonshire, and I find it really helpful, and it gives you an insight into other people's problems. It's still very private and confidential. I come in a Friday morning actually to the group that runs every Friday morning here, where we do, it's like a craft group. You do what you want to do. So I'm here from 10 o'clock in the morning to 1 o'clock there, completely relaxing, enjoying myself with these friends, and then I go along to the office. And I work at the reception, and I can be one of the first people that you speak to, but I then guide you to a support worker if you come either in the door or if you phone in. So I'm one of the phones. I help out with a bit of filing and packing information that goes out to the carers and newsletters and things like that. I help with the mailing systems. So I basically do the job of an office junior. I would certainly recommend the Carers of West Dunbartonshire for anyone who is needing help or is just, it's so difficult at first when you don't know anything about that. But I would certainly recommend them, because as soon as I came upon them, and they'll come to the house, or you can go to them. The office is great. The girls just, it's like a protective blanket comes around you for you, not for the other. They help you everything. They help you socially, give you access any help that you need from them, and they are so caring. It really is. I would definitely encourage them to come to the carers.